Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk a little bit about goals. Where do you want to go in life? What do you want to do? And how do you want to get to that position? Right? So we all kind of have basic goals, eventually get a house or, pay off our mortgage. Some of us want to get married, have children, or maybe go traveling and broaden the mind. And, there's all these books that you want to read and all these films that you want to watch and all this stuff that you want to do. Maybe you want to go skydiving, maybe you want to go scuba diving. There's stuff that you want to do, right? And you have about 80 years of your life to do it. And if you're watching this and if you're part of the average demographic for these videos, then you've probably only got about 50 years left. So you've got 50 years, of which realistically 30 of which can be spent, scuba diving and stuff like that. So what are you going to do in those 30 years to get yourself to a position where you can look back on your life as a retiree and go, I lived a good, fulfilling life that I am proud of, and I left some kind of legacy, whether that be a public legacy for the rest of the world to see, if you're a musician, leaving a discography behind for future generations to pick up and go, oh God, this guy's music's really good, or whether it be a private legacy, like having children or, writing your memoirs out and maybe not even publishing, but just having them there as a time capsule of the now. There's all sorts of things that you can want to do, but how do you get yourself to a point where you are doing them and have done some of them? Well, it's about clearly defining your goals. So we all want to get a house, we all want to, get married and stuff like that. We all want these things, but how do we get ourselves into a position to get to that point? So let's take getting married, for instance. If you want to get married, well, first you need to find someone else who also wants to marry you, right? And you want to marry them. And you want to not only be married, but you also want to have a fulfilling life together with someone that you can feel at ease and comfortable around. Right? So how do you get yourself into a position where you've met a person who you feel comfortable around, who makes you feel good and you enjoy making them feel good? Well, first you need to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. You need to do things that are a little bit different. And that can be stuff that is, engaging activities that you already kind of wanted to do, but you just never pushed through and actually started doing them. Which, maybe there's, bands that you want to see live. Maybe there's sports clubs that you want to join. Maybe there's, book clubs that you want to join and start reading more, and that's a nice way of pushing you into reading. And you're not necessarily doing these things so that you meet a person at these things that you can then get with, and then that stay with them for 5 years and then propose to them and then marry them and then have 2.5 children with them. It's not about doing all of the things at once. You need to compartmentalize your goals. So if you want to have children, first you need to find a woman or a man that you can really get along with and that you can feel comfortable around for the rest of your life, right? And if you want to get to that position, then you need to meet them. If you want to meet them, then you need to get out into the world and doing stuff. So first goal is getting out into the world and doing stuff. I know a lot of people, like myself, spent if you're raised during the COVID sort of thing, if you were coming of age during COVID, you're used to spending a lot of time inside on the computer and that kind of thing. First, try and limit your time on the internet and instead spend that time out and about. Go even just to, your park or, go to some weird little thing that you wouldn't have considered going to. Go on Eventbrite. Eventbrite has loads of stuff on it, right? And you can just find a little activity on there or some kind of group meeting or something like that and just go to it, right? It's scary the first time you do it, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel doing it, and it will just become second nature to you, right? Like the first time I did it, all the stranger danger stuff that you get taught, it all came flooding to me and I was terrified, right? But the more I've done it, I've now gone and met so many people that I originally met through the internet and developed interesting relationships with in both work and sort of leisure sort of senses, right? People that I can get on with in a film sort of way, and people I can get on with and have a jam with, and people that I can just talk to, and go for a coffee and stuff. What's important is to get yourself out and talking to new people, doing new things, right? And these are things that you always wanted to do, stuff that would fulfill your life a little bit more. Not stuff that you go out and you're kind of just doing it for the sake of doing it and going out. You're doing it because you're meant to go out. And if you do that, you'll spend your whole time when you're out there just wanting to go back home. And if you find yourself just wanting to go back home all the time, listen to that part of yourself, right? That this isn't the thing, right? You've tried it, it hasn't worked, and that's okay. There's more things that you can try. Do you know the amount of activities there are in the world that you can do? The amount of things that there are on offer, right? The amount of various hobbies that you can engage with that might be quite similar to the sort of thing that you're already into. Say you like drawing, right? Well, what kind of drawing do you like? Do you like digital art? Do you like painting? Do you like, sketches? Do you like realism? Do you like abstractionism? All of those kind of things have their own little communities around them that you can find via the internet, and then maybe get in touch with people via the internet, maybe meet some people, go to artists sort of united clubs and stuff like that, little meetups and stuff. They do loads of these things where they'll go to a pub and then they'll walk around and stuff, and they'll just talk about one another's art and network a little bit, but it's not necessarily a professional networking environment. It's just a nice little meetup, right? So you don't have to do all this stuff to further your fucking career or anything like that. You can just do stuff because it feels nice, because it's enjoyable, right? And then, so you've now gotten yourself out into a space that is engaging towards you, that you enjoy doing. You found something that you're good at and you enjoy doing, and you want to do more of it, and you don't find yourself just wanting to go back home all the time whenever you're out, right? Now that is a goal that you have now completed. If we're trying to get to full fulfillment, right, that's one step on it. Now, say if we want to go to this route of say you want to have children, right? Well, the next step would be trying to find someone. And it's obviously, this is just a basic example because that's a big goal, and to get to a big goal, you need lots of little goals. We could do the same thing for fulfilling your career, but the reason I haven't gone for that is because that's a bit more of a vague goal, and it depends on, what your career is and all that sort of stuff, so the specifics will be different. But having children, it's kind of the same for everyone. It's the same process at the end of the day, right? So say now you want to meet someone and get some kind of good relationship going with them. Well, now you're going out into these spaces, you're surrounding yourself with more people, and you're getting more confident at talking to people, and letting your idiosyncrasies kind of come to the surface, and allowing your personality to flourish. The more that you do that, the more that someone might have the opportunity to see you and like you, right? And the more opportunities that you give people to do that, the more likely you are to end up in some kind of relationship, right? Now that you've done that, now that's a whole other video topic, right? So now let's say you've managed to do all that, you're fulfilling yourself, you're furthering your career, all of these sort of things, and now you're at a point where you might want to marry them or have children or whatever. You have now gotten to that goal, and to do that you had to take a few steps that look completely irrelevant, right? But the end goal is the same. And obviously it doesn't have to be that you go to some fucking artists club and then meet someone there and then do that, or go to a concert and meet someone there and then go off and form a relationship that way. There's all sorts of things you can do. You can meet people at your university, if you're at university or at school or whatever, or at your job. And I know they say don't, shit where you eat and that kind of thing. But if you're planning on leaving the job anyway, I don't see what harm is. If someone has a crush on you, you might as well go through with it if you like them too. But yeah, that's just one particular idea of a big goal that is comprised of lots of little goals, right? And you could do the same thing for, say, your career. I'm going to use, the media industry as kind of an example because that's the industry that I'm getting into, where my career is going. So to do that, first, a similar sort of thing of networking and kind of that sort of thing. But first, you might want to make some stuff that's enjoyable, right? Maybe to do that, you need to get maybe a camera, right? So first, you need to look at what kind of camera you might want. What do you want that's good for you? And then figuring out, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and then eventually now you've got your little bits of equipment and you can make your little videos, right? So that's all one set of goals that you need to do, getting a camera or microphone or whatever. Maybe you want to get a lav mic like what I've got. Maybe you want to, talk into a microphone like that. Maybe you want to do podcasting kind of audio, so you get that kind of thing. Or maybe you just want to go cheap and cheerful and just get like a phone and just talk into the phone. All valid, just as valid as one another, okay? And then you've gotten all your equipment, and that's one goal set, and that's sorted, right? Now the next sort of goal would be making a few bits of stuff, right? Little videos that are fun, or making songs if that's the kind of thing you're into, or just general stuff like that. Coming up with an idea and executing the idea and getting it to a finished form that can be shared with the wider world. You don't have to share it with the wider world, but you can if you want, because you've gotten it to this stage where you could do that. And that's another goal that you have now figured out. And the more of these goals that you do, they're all stepping stones towards getting towards the fulfillment of finishing the end result of this marathon that you're on, right? So, Now you've done that, you're building a portfolio essentially. Now you can start applying for jobs and you can start getting work in various places. Maybe you want to go freelance and that it's a case of getting new clientele and that kind of thing. And these are all extra goals, right? And you need to complete one goal in order to complete the next goal. It's like, say if you're in a video game, right? And you go towards the end of a level and there's like the new world, right? And it says, there's a little like mushroom guy that comes up to you and he says, sorry Mario, you can't come past here until you complete all these levels, right? Well, what are you going to do? You're going to just keep sitting there and activating that mushroom's fucking dialogue where it says, sorry Mario, you can't get past until you complete the other levels. Or you're going to go back and complete the other levels, right? There's an order that you have to do things in. However, it's not a completely strict order. It's not like you need to do level 1-1, level 1-2, level 1-3, level 1-4. You can do them a little bit like level 1-3, then maybe level 1-2, then level 1-4, then level 1-1, right? Depending on the circumstances of which you are going through, right? Depending on your life and your circumstances and all that sort of stuff. So as long as you break down your big goals into little goals, you will be able to fulfill the little goals so that you can get yourself up towards the big goal. Because say if I wanted to just have kids right now, right? I can't just do that. I'm not in a financial position or a position in my career. I can't drive, right? There's all sorts of little things that I need to get done in order to be able to do that, right? That's like the ultimate goal, right? And to get to that, I need to do lots of little goals, okay? And same with, you know, career. If I want to get to my ideal state in a career, which would be, you know, managing my own sort of production house or little company and doing freelance work, getting loads of clients in, having various streams of income from various little side jobs and stuff like that, I need to manage all of that and get it into a position where I am actually doing those things, right? And to do that, there's loads of little steps that I need to do. And every day I'm constantly chipping away at those little goals, okay? And you need to do the same sort of thing in order to get yourself to that position, because you only have, say, 30 years to get to that point where eventually you'll start to, your body will start to give in, you'll get wear down a lot more easily, you won't be able to stay out late all the time, you won't be able to, you know, go full throttle non-stop. Use this time to your advantage, right? You're young, you're youthful, you're full of energy. Use that energy to your best of your ability and get your life into a position where you can just sit back and relax and just be comfortable. I know, yeah, I've torn that. That's a goal I need to do. I need to sew that up, right? So all these little things, right? Some things are little, like sewing this up, right? That's a little goal. To get that done, that means that I now have this completely sorted, and it means this won't become a bigger problem. I can continue to wear this instead of having to go out and buy another jumper, which will cost me, I don't know how much this costs, like 30 quid or something like that. So saving myself 30 quid, but spending maybe an hour doing it, okay? So all of these little goals are things that you need to complete in order to complete the bigger goals. And you won't necessarily complete the big goal like consciously. You'll have already completed it by the time you complete all the small ones. It's almost like, what's that game where you've got, like, it's like Jenga a little bit, but almost in reverse. So you're taking bits out. Each Jenga block you take out is a goal that you have completed. And eventually you will collapse the entire tower. And once you have done that, that is, you know, you're a demolition man. That's your job. You wanted to get the tower down, right? So that's kind of the structure that I'm presenting to you. You complete a lot of the small goals so that you can complete a lot of the big goals, right? And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you managed to get something out of it. If you have any thoughts on, you know, the nature of trying to accomplish large goals, please let me know. What are your personal goals? What are your big goals, and how do you see yourself getting towards them? And you know, if you're unmotivated at the moment, that's understandable. You know, it's a hard world out there. You know, depression and stuff is on the rise, and you know, this generation is some of the most depressed and anxiety-ridden generation in all of human history, right? And that is debilitating, and it's understandable that motivation doesn't necessarily come naturally. However, there's a certain point that comes when goals need to be completed, because you can't keep doing nothing forever, right? And I'm saying that from as nice a place as possible, from as least of a, you know, self-improvement fucking guru type perspective as possible. There does come a point where you need to complete these goals. And putting yourself in a position where you can is, you know, the ultimate goal of all. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Leave your comments in the thing below. And take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hope I didn't capture my burp on camera.